up, everybody? Welcome to our co-writing training. Let's jump in today. I wanted to touch on co-writing from an angle that I have not taught on it yet, and that is what not to do in a co-write. We've talked a lot about what to do in a co-write, but I'm going to share with you today quite a few things, 14 things, in fact, from personal experience with over 2,000 co-writes. I tried counting them up. It's probably way more than that, but that's like on the conservative end. At this point, between my 4 publishing deals I've had up till now, it's well over 2,000 songs in my catalog. And so I have a lot of experience co-writing. It's what I do every day, all day. It's what I love to do most days. Some days it's not that fun, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So for a lot of you, the problem of how do you find co-writers isn't so much the obstacle anymore, because Song Chasers is the answer to that. The question is how do I get invited back? How do I, once I get on a speed co-write, what would make somebody want to have me back in the room again? Or when I get on my first co-write with someone else, like the goal should always be like, okay, well, what is it going to take for me to get invited back, or for me to make this like a regular thing? And of course, that's not going to happen with everybody. You do have to very much realize that human chemistry is a thing. I've been a part of some co-writes recently that my publisher, like on paper, was so jacked about, but they just didn't go great. And you got to realize that like human chemistry is very much going to be a factor. And that's something you have zero control over. So let that slide off of you. Like if you've had a co-write recently that you feel like hasn't gone well, there is a good chance that it's possibly just the chemistry, but there's also a good chance that it might be one of these things on this list as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. Are y'all with me? Give me some shout outs in the chat. If you're alive, if you're awake, if you're feeling great today, give me some thumbs up, give me whatever emoji. Jacob is breathing. I'm glad that you're breathing. That would concern me if you were not breathing. Yeah, Carolyn's with us. Tammy, awesome. Carol, Dave, alive, I'm feeling great. Awesome. So yeah, this is my by no means comprehensive list, but these were the top things that came to mind just from personal experience of all these 2,000 co-writes. And number one is to come with nothing prepared. Once again, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm saying this is what you should not do. Come with nothing prepared. I get it. If you're writing every day, all day, it's hard to have fresh ideas, but that's why you have to schedule in time. Just like you schedule in co-writes, you have to schedule in time to build up your own fresh ideas and recharge your inspiration tank. Now, that's different for everybody. For my friend Tranny Anderson, who I write with a lot, I mean, she'll literally sit down at her piano, and those are her prep days of just writing, like, here's a whole chorus. Like that's the type of stuff she'll bring into a session. Other writers will just make, like Josh Keir is another great writer I work with, who just has this crazy list of titles, and he likes to play these word games where he'll take 2 different words that are just kind of wild and fit them together. And like Lainey Wilson, Watermelon Moonshine is a big song that was kind of that. It's just 2 random words that he thought would sound cool together. And so he does those kinds of word exercises to just come up with unusual titles. And then he brings those in. And the thing is how can you bring in the title with a unique spin on it? It's not just the title, it's doing the work to figure out, okay, well, Watermelon Moonshine, that could mean anything. Or on her new record, my favorite song on her whole new record is called Whiskey Colored Crayon. And when I saw the title for that, you're like, what in the heck? Like, that's the weirdest thing, Whiskey Colored Crayon. But he did the work of coming in and saying, and that was one of those word games. Like he was like, well, what's one thing that I hate? Well, whiskey. Like, what's one thing that my kids love? Crayons. Like, okay, well, let's mash it together. And so he did the hard work of thinking of a scenario or story where that could make sense. And it's just a fantastic song. I'm not going to give away the whole punchline or impact of it. You can go listen to it for yourself. But those are the types of things. For me as a producer in the room, I'll always bring I have a list. I have a folder that is kind of a private list of all these tracks that I've just built. They're full instrumental tracks, vibes, things just to hit play, and you have an inspiring thing to write to in the room. Um, for many of you who aren't producers, that could mean like going on BeatStars and like just filtering through some stuff and bringing here's 4 or 5 instrumentals that I purchased on there that are like $5 a piece, right? It could be that simple. You just have to come with something. If you're the artist, I get it. You're busy, you're touring, you're traveling, you're doing the social media stuff, but you still have to come with some kind of idea or some inkling of like, this is the type of song I want to write, or this is what I'm feeling today. If nothing else, just come prepared to share what you're feeling. So that is point number one. Brian, you got a question?
I do, and I did learn how to raise my hand and not be rude. So
Yeah.
I apologize for all my previous rudeness. So I because of my travel schedule, I'm going to end up doing a lot of my co-writing remotely. And I also one of the first behaviors of yours that I started emulating was making vibes. I saw you do that in a Watch Me Work, and I kind of did it before, but I just kind of formalized it, and I started to build up a library of them. I just don't know how to deliver that into a Zoom meeting in a useful way so that it can be written to. Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, this is a great question. Zoom is definitely going to be for, probably 8 out of 10 of y'all who are working together on here on Song Chasers. It's going to be over Zoom. So the production piece is tough. It's why I don't love personally doing Zoom co-writes. I do them. I've had some great success doing them, but it can be a trick when you're trying to play a track and you're trying to screen share and then they're hearing it latent on their end. So by the time they sing it back, you're hearing it delayed. So it just sounds wild. So what you kind of really have to focus on in Zoom co-writes is the top line. It's the lyric and the melody. Um, that's really all you can realistically do. Now, what I have done and what I do in those, I wrote one with Gabby Barrett and James and Emily called Glory Days. It was her last single. And we did that one over Zoom. But I had this whole crazy elaborate setup that X helped me set up that had like a talkback mic built into it. And I was able to like just audio movers straight out of Pro Tools so that whenever we were in the room, and James and Emily were with me in the room, so we would come up with a line and then Emily would sing it in the room and then it'd play back over. So to really do the production thing over Zoom, it's a little bit complicated. I've done other things like I'll send the track over, and then like asynchronously, we won't be like looping it the whole time because it would just drive us kind of crazy. But it'll be like an artist will, or one of the other writers will like come up with a section and then they'll hit play on their end. They'll sing it over top of that, that section, whatever that section is. So it is doable. I have done it. I still do it. But yes, the production thing is definitely trickier on Zoom. So so yeah, that's point number one. There are plenty of audio movers is what we use for that. Lander Studio I haven't used. No matter what it is, there's always going to be some element of latency, even if it's small. It will be big enough to where when they sing it and you hear it back, it's going to sound delayed. So even if it's a millisecond, it still drives you crazy. So yes, so that's point number one. Do not come with nothing prepared. Point number two, don't be distracted the whole time. This is the curse of these things that we have, these phones, these TikTok and Instagram, and there's just a new notification popping up. One thing that I did that I don't know if you all can do this or want to do this, but I turned off my text and email notifications.
Oh, the number.
So I don't get any of those little red bubbles that pop up. These only red bubbles that pop up are like software updates or whatever like that. Or here's one from a random Abercrombie thing that I bought once. But like I don't get them for emails and texts. Like I manually go in and click when I want to look at my texts. So that's something that has worked really well for me. It keeps me more locked in because of course you're gonna get texted 5, 10 times during a co-write if it's 3 hours long. And if it's an emergency, somebody's going to call you. Like that's the reality. Like if my wife needs to get a hold of me, she'll call me, and I'll of course answer it. But being distracted, that's a huge thing. It is more common now than you would think. The really good co-writers make it a point to be present and all in, like you're the only person in the world at that moment. That's what the really good co-writers do. They're not thinking about the other song they just wrote. They're not thinking about the song they're gonna write. They're not thinking about, you know, what's going on at home. They're right there, 100% present in the co-write. Yeah, Carolyn's taking notes here. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Please do. Haas says, I wonder, how do you not get lost in the ideas of songs that you had in the past? I know this is due to how organized you are. However, how do you keep up with your own pace of creativity? And this ties in a little bit to the distractedness thing of like, well, am I thinking about a song I did in the past? And the only thing I can say is you just have to make yourself stay present. Like there's no secret to that. You just have to shut out every other song you've ever written, every other thing, and of course you're taking like ideas and things you've learned from other things and injecting them, but you just have to sort of force yourself to stay current, and then set aside separate times, block out separate times to actually go back and like listen through your catalog and flag things and say, oh, this one was actually really good. Because after you get a body of work of, let's call it 50 or 100 songs, you're going to have more objectivity when you go back and listen of what are the good ones, what are not the good ones. So yeah, and if you don't have if you got to be on call for patients, obviously that's, you've got to do that. But like you said, most you can address after the write. So as much as you can do within your control to not be distracted. So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is to show up late or leave early unless you communicate ahead of time. This is a huge one. I get it. Nashville traffic sucks. Sucks for me too. But if you think it's going to be, a 30-minute drive, give yourself an hour just in case. Now on Zoom, you really don't have a whole lot of excuse for this because you can kind of show up from wherever you're at, bailing early, like, oftentimes it makes the other co-writers feel like, well, what, are they just not into the song? And sometimes that's okay too. Like sometimes when you're on Zoom, one thing I'll share that Liz Rose told me while we were writing in the COVID pandemic, and everybody was figuring out how to do this Zoom co-writing thing. It's normal now, and for y'all, it's completely normal. And the one thing that she said is on Zoom, the dynamic is a little different in the sense that if you don't have something pretty well nailed down, it doesn't have to be like completely finished, but if you don't have something on a Zoom co-write within like 2-ish hours, it's probably not happening that day, and the reason is it's when you're in the room, there's a lot more give and take. You're looking at body language and facial expression. You feed off each other a lot more. On Zoom, it just sucks a lot more energy out of you. Mm-hmm. And so you really need to kind of get down to brass tacks of like, what's the DNA of this song lyric and of this melody. And so, I say that related to showing up and leaving early, just to say that your Zoom co-writes may not need to be as long as in-person ones. I find as a rule that Zoom co-writes I can generally get done in about half the time of what I can do in person, because in person you're hanging, you're talking out, you're talking, you're walking in the other room, getting coffee. It's a different vibe. So, you don't always have to give yourself a 4 or 6 hour block if you're Zoom writing. You can, it's just it's going to be a little more tiring than being in the room. So that's number 3. It's just, respect other people's time and the commitments that they've made. Number 4 is to not get stuck on your idea, to dig your heels in so hard that, you are just completely stuck. And if the other co-writers in the room are not feeling it, the worst thing you can do is keep bringing that thing back up. Well, what about this? What about this? And it's like, no, if they haven't really acknowledged it, or they haven't, like, maybe you think on Zoom, well, maybe they didn't hear it. That's okay. Maybe you can say it again, because that is a thing. But, if it's clear that your idea in that moment is not for that right, just save it. Put it back in your collection. That's a good thing. That's one more idea that you didn't have to, use up that day. So ultimately, I've been in the room with a lot of people where this has been the case, and it just slows momentum down so much. And typically I'm in writing with 2 or 3 other people. It's a 3-way or a 4-way write. And if there's that one person and the 3 other people are kind of like not vibing on it, but they can't get off that one idea, that one line, like it really is a buzzkill for the write. So just don't be that person. Exactly. We are going to have some time at the end for questions too. So number 5, don't talk, sing, or play the whole time. I put no noodling, please. This is one of the most annoying things to me, is like just the noodlers. Like, it's like when you walk into Guitar Center, that's what it sounds like to me. It's just constantly like playing or like jamming or whatever.
Yeah.
Our modern version of that is like, if we have a track going in the room, we're just going to leave it softly on loop in the background the whole time, and then we'll write on top of that. But it's really, really hard to think if there's just constant space. Like, silence is actually a really good thing, because it leaves room not only for you to listen, but it also leaves room for everybody to think. And there are times that, like, I'll just kill the track, and like, if you listen to it for an hour straight, like, it's just, your brain just kind of gets numb to it, of it looping. So sometimes you need that silence, you need that space. People aren't used to silence, but it's something that the really good co-writers are okay with and they get comfortable with, because all we're doing is we're just sitting and thinking. That's really what we're doing when we're writing a song. So
Tammy said she noticed that in the fly on the wall sessions.
Yeah,
Silence.
exactly. Yeah, silence is a great thing for sure. Just make sure I didn't miss anything. Carolyn, thank you so much for catching all these. We're moving quick here. And these are all things I've experienced, and probably things I've been guilty of in more times than I would like to admit as well. These aren't all just like me noticing other people. This is stuff we probably all have done at one time or another. So that's point number 5. Point number 6, if you're not the artist in the room, don't dominate the song, don't dominate the session. If you're the artist in the room, this is a lot different when you're like starting out, you're newer, you're not really sure. Some cases you're like, I don't even know who the artist is. Like, am I supposed to put this out, or is the other person supposed to put this out? This is if it's a clear session where this is an artist working for a project, you are there as the co-writer to serve them. That is ultimately it. I put this example in here because I've had this happen a couple times in the last, I'd say, quarter, and I definitely let my publisher know, like, hey, this a lot of times it's newer writers who are really good, the great writers, but co-writing and writing are 2 different skills. Like, writing, that's one thing, but the act of co-writing is like learning the dynamics. And so oftentimes, or not oftentimes, the times I've run up against this is when it's like me and an artist in the room. I'm not going to name names on any of these things just for obvious reasons, but it was me and an artist in the room. This was just last month. And then there was another writer. This artist has a record deal, is actively writing for their project, has really good traction. They kind of know who they are. They know what they want to do. They have an established fan base. And we could not get on a direction that it seemed like this third writer was excited about. And at the end of the day, it's like, if the artist is excited about it, that's all that matters on that day. It doesn't matter what you think. You kind of just follow them, for better or for worse. And it is important to have days when you're writing just as writers, which are just a pitch. And starting out, that's what a lot of the co-writes are. So this point is a little bit it's a moot point if there's not an artist in the room. But this one is really key. Once you start getting in the room with artists, you need to let them take the lead, even if they're quiet. Like, there are writers that I work with who are amazing singers, amazing artists, who don't necessarily say a ton in the session. They're more so the curator of, you'll throw something out and they won't say anything. Somebody else will throw something out, they won't say anything. You'll throw something out again, they'll be like, oh yeah, I like that. So that's the direction you run. They're kind of more like catching ideas and curating, so to speak. Let's jump back over to Brian.
This one is super quick. so many times now when I'm doing a co-write, there's no artist in the room unless it's something that I'm thinking about releasing, and I'm a dude with a computer. So I'm just wondering what your advice is for, I mean, I guess we can do a hypothetical. We're going to write something for so and so. I'm just looking for just general advice about how to focus a session when there's not an artist in the room.
Yes. So again, Cooper talked about this yesterday in the pitch session. Your best case scenario to getting a song cut by an artist is to be writing with an artist. Now, in the beginning, especially, that's not always going to happen, but you have to find the people who are, maybe a step ahead of you, but not like 40 steps ahead of you. You find people like Rick Barker has suggested on YouTube who are artists who are doing covers of your favorite artists, of the stuff that you love, and you try to work with them. To Brian's point about if you don't have an artist in the room, this really is kind of a moot point. But at the end of the day, like the way that I treat it is we don't really look at tip sheets a lot. It's more so just let's write the best possible song um, on that day. Now there has to be some focus. Like in my case, most of the stuff I get put into with just straight up other writers is set up by Sony and it's meant for country. Like it's already kind of an understanding that it's going to be in that. So a lot of it is just talking on the front end of like, what is it that we're shooting for? Are we shooting for a film and TV thing? If so, what type of film and TV placement are we shooting for? Is it advertisement? Is it in show? Is it like a trailer type thing? If we're writing a song, is it for like a country pitch? Is it for a CCM pitch? Like you kind of have to establish those parameters on the front end. And that's as simple as just texting back and forth and saying, what do you feel like working on today? Or what do you want to shoot for today? And sometimes there is no answer and it's like, let's just write a great song. That's a perfectly okay answer too. Because there have been plenty of times I've written a song for one thing and it wound up getting pitched to, an artist I would have never seen doing it. So yeah, that'd be my hopefully my short but hopefully clear answer to that. Yeah, exactly. Tammy says, don't jump to chapter 99 if you're still at chapter 1. Exactly. And this is where it takes some humility. We all got to eat a little bit of humble pie and realize we're probably not as far along as we think we are. Even me, like I always have to humble myself and realize that, I may think my songs are amazing, but man, there's 1,000 other people doing what I'm doing here today at a very high level, and they're very talented. There's going to be some great songs that get written. So you have to have the balance of like just crazy optimism of knowing that I can do this today, but you also have to have that humility of knowing where you're really at. So again, yeah, to reiterate this point, if you're not the artist in the room and there is an artist in the room that's actively writing for a project, let them kind of take the lead. Yeah, Chidia said that really well. Exactly. Being self-aware is what so much of this stuff is. Being self-aware to when you're the only one pushing an idea and everyone else is going a different direction. And you kind of just have to submit to that. Again, that's where the humility comes in. I love that. Number 7, this one's for all the producers out there. Don't take forever to finish the demo. I'm very guilty of this. I'm currently pretty good about it, but in the past, before I had things more systematized and templated, there would be times it would take me a month or two to get certain demos finished because I was writing so much. Part of it was just over scheduling too, like just scheduling too many writes compared to the actual demo finish times, because you have to schedule those in too if you're producers. And you're not going to be able to do probably as many writing sessions if you're a producer as like a top liner would. So that is the truth. Like top liners are probably going to write more songs in a year than a producer writer. But you have to figure out a way to, best case scenario, in my case, is I try to deliver my number one goal is to deliver a day of demo. Best case scenario, I'm ready to print it at the end of the writing session, which may be 4, 5, 6 hours. I'm building the track as we're going. We're cutting the vocal. I'm editing the vocal as we're going. And so you got to just learn to be fast and learn to focus on the things that actually matter. Don't spend a half hour of your 4-hour session EQ on a snare drum. Like just get something that has a vibe, that feels good. and let it be what it is. At bare minimum, I try not to go really much longer than a week. Like that's like the longest I want to go before turning in a demo. Because what happens is people sort of forget about the excitement of a song, and it may be really good, but if it takes you 2 months to get the demo done, they may have written, 30 songs since then, or 20 songs, how many songs since then, and they kind of have lost the hype on that particular song. So this one is really good. Again, we talked about this yesterday a little bit. Simplicity is a good thing. A demo, Cooper said this so well, drums especially. A lot of us put this pressure on ourselves to have like a full band track, but in many cases for a demo, that's actually counterproductive. Because if you go down the road of trying to make a full band demo, you're signing up for, I have to make every element sound incredible. And that's a hard thing to do. That's why, producers get paid what they get paid, because it's not easy to do. So focus on the majors, not the minors. Like focus on a really good, clean, on time, well played, in tune guitar sound or a piano sound, and focus on a really, really good vocal performance. It's edited well, it's mixed well. If that's all you have and you put a shaker on top of it, that's plenty for a demo. I'm going to pause to look at some of these questions here. Ha says, this leads me to another question. How do you not be stuck somewhere when you're not realistic? What if I ever become at all unrealistic or far away in my own land? I mean, it's the balance. Like as an artist, as a creator, you want to have big aspirations. You want to have big dreams that's what makes people like Taylor Swift get to where they are, because they believe innately in them deep down, even though if nobody else is telling them, they believe that they have what it takes. And so you have to be a little bit unrealistic, because it's an unrealistic proposition. Statistically, getting a hit song, I mean, you have a greater chance of like getting on a Super Bowl team. Like it really is it's such a rare thing. Every time I have one, I'm so thankful, because it's like, I know that this is not a normal thing. So it's like, that balance of, again, just sort of being being humble, but also having those goals. So, I mean, just the fact that you're self-aware of that, says to me that you're thinking the right things. You want to make sure you're realistic, you have realistic expectations, but on the same time, you want to be swinging for the fence as well. So, I love that question. Andrew says, how does ownership of the master of a demo work versus the writing split if you're doing the demo for free? Really, there's no, I mean, technically, yes, you own the demo, but there's really no, if it gets converted to a master, then yes, you would figure out some deal between you and the artist, chances are whoever's working on it, whether that's a master split or whether they want to do like a buyout with your tracks. When I'm doing like writing for sync, like oftentimes the way I'll handle that is I'll do like a 40-40-20 split, like 40 to me, 40 to the artist who's singing on the song, and then 20 to the other writer who's in the room, who technically isn't necessarily always doing something on the master, but I like to give them something just because it keeps everybody invested and involved. But there's no really right or wrong. It's just, I wouldn't worry about ownership unless it goes to the point of like, hey, I actually want to release this. I want to put this out on DSPs. At that point is when you want to start figuring that conversation out. And that can be anywhere from a straight up split, like I used to do with Cooper when he was starting out and he didn't have money to pay for masters. We just did like an even split on the master ownership. You can do a buyout with a higher percentage. You can do a bigger buyout with a lower percentage. It's kind of all over the place in terms of what's there's not really a right or wrong, but there is a range for sure. All right, let's keep rocking. Number 8, if you're learning to produce, we kind of just talked about this. Don't worry about building a full track. Don't use every co-write as like your practice. Use time after you've finished a simple demo. If you want to get good at building out full tracks, which is a useful skill, then take the time after you've turned in a simple demo and block out some time for yourself to just try and play and experiment and have fun with it, and learn how to program drums, learn how to edit drums, learn how to record live instruments, those types of things. But focus on the simple things, especially if you're learning to produce, because that's going to get you, like, that's really all you need. That's all you need is people to hear a clear and compelling vocal performance. They want to hear every word of the song and have some kind of a feeling or some kind of a vibe to it. That's really all that matters. So yeah, Carolyn, thank you very much. That was a great summary. Number 9. This one I always feel like, man, this is so obvious, but it just isn't. And for a lot of people in the beginning, number 9, don't belittle others' ideas in the room. Silence is a good thing. We've talked about this in our songwriting mastery course, that oftentimes the best approach, if somebody throws out an idea and you're like, man, that sucks, is not to say that sucks, unless you really know that person and like you've been writing songs with them for 20 years and you're potentially, have that trust built. But most of the time, saying nothing is a request for more. Give me more ideas. Give me something else. Give me something else. So silence is a good thing. You don't want to be like awkwardly silent the whole time. You obviously want to be contributing ideas as well too, and having some kind of banter back and forth. But saying things like, man, I don't think that's good, or I don't think that's right. Like it's more like, well, what if we did this? Like, or what if we did, like, finding like a constructive way, almost like improv, where it's like yes and it's not ever saying no, it's always yes and. You can all, and yeah, Tammy, you can totally do that. You can give the disclaimer, hey, here, this might be a crazy idea. I say this too, like, dare to suck here. What if it's this? And I'll often throw out something that's crazy, but it may inspire something else that's like, okay, that actually gets our brains thinking in a different direction. So yeah, this is a huge one. Most of y'all are never gonna struggle with this just because you have the social awareness to understand this, but I just always have to say it, just for, especially for the new co-writers out there. It's a very, very important piece. Number 10, I've got a few more here. We're moving quick through these. Thanks for hanging in. Jacob says, I've been amazed how many bad lines lead to great lines. That is so true. It's like the difference between like bad and great is like oftentimes like one little twist of a phrase or a word that you take out. It's kind of crazy. Number 10, don't over edit in the room on day number 1. Now, what I mean by this is I'd rather you just finish a song on the first co-write. Don't put so much pressure on yourself where it has to be perfect. There is going to be no perfect. Like, just get something that you are good with for the moment. That's not to say settle for mediocrity. You want to come up with the best possible thing you can within that time frame, but it's always going to be better to finish a song than to get stuck like working on the chorus for the whole time. And there have been sessions I've been in like that where it's, and sometimes it's worth the fight. But oftentimes it's better, if a song really has the DNA of greatness in it, then you're going to unanimously as a group kind of know that. And at that point, you can decide, hey, maybe we should get back together on a day 2 to like comb through this and edit. And that's using those sessions to do that rather than doing it on what I would call the creation day. So this is a really big one. This is not like I mean, this is something he's talked about publicly, so I can talk about it. But when I've worked with for King and Country in the past, like Joel in the room is the editor, and Luke is like just the creative juice. Like they're both very creative, but in the beginning, it was often the case that like Joel, and this is like him self-admitting this. This isn't me saying this about him. He used to edit songs so much to death that they like never made it out of the baby stage. And you have to kind of let things like grow and develop before you just edit the life out of them. And he's gotten way better at that over the years. And he just lets I've watched it happen with him where it's almost like a mindset. Like he comes in almost, there's like 2 different sets of days. There's like the creation day, and then there's like the song doctoring day. And so that's where he really shines. And that is an important role to have, because that is often what takes it from good to great. But on day 1, don't be an over editor. Like just let the song happen, let it happen, just roll with it, get it to where you feel like it's good. And If you need a day 2, grab it for sure. And yeah, to your point, Jacob, stepping away, time away always brings up fresh ideas and creativity. Exactly. Yeah. You just, we can't really see when we're in the weeds. It's really hard to zoom out. Sometimes you need that week or 2 or a month between. Tom Douglas with House That Built Me, which is one of my favorite songs written of all time. That was a 7-year process. But on their day 1, I bet they just had put down. Well, no, I've heard what they put down. It's like a 9-minute song. It had like 10 verses in it. And obviously that's not going to work. Publisher was like, this is not going to work. But they kept getting back together, kept working on it, and eventually it became what it was for Brandon Lambert. A couple more here, a few more here today. At number 11, don't put so much pressure on each individual song. We got to remember why we got into this in the first place, and that's for the love of creating, just for the sake of creating. That's why we want to keep the process fun. We don't, like, every song that we write doesn't have to be life or death. It's really not that. Like, these are I'm going to say this sounds a little sacrilegious in our Song Chasers community, but they're just songs. Like, they're just songs. Songs can do powerful things, but at the same time, they're just songs. They're not your babies. So don't put so much pressure on yourself in the process that if we don't get it right today, like, I've failed. That's not it. Like, we're all just trying our best every day. So give yourself grace, give your other co-writers grace that not every day has to be writing Thriller. It's just not going to be that. Yes, you want to strive for greatness, but don't put so much pressure on yourself and each individual song that you lose the fun in it. Because when you lose the fun in it, that's when you just don't want to, wake up in the morning and do it. I was hanging out with Tommy Prophet a couple nights ago, and it's just reminded me of this. Like, he doesn't really do, and he's at the point in his career where he can afford to do this, but like, his filter is just like, does this make me excited to get up and work on? If not, I'm just not going to do it. And so, like, man, I was like, what a great place to get to. If you can be at that point where whatever you're doing that day, whoever you're working with that day gives you life. And ultimately, it's typically the people who you have the most fun doing it with that give you that life and that make you want to keep coming back. So keep it fun. Don't put so much pressure on it. Janine says, thanks for saying that. Tried real hard to get a song for Cooper, didn't make it on time. Will there be another opportunity with Cooper's? I'm still working on it. We don't have one specifically planned with him, but there will be more opportunities. I will say that in the future with other artists. It may be a little while before we can get him back around, but don't put so much don't put so much pressure on this one pitch either. This isn't there's always another song, there's always another pitch opportunity. The beauty of 2024 is artists are constantly recording, constantly looking, constantly having to put new music out. So it's not like he just recorded a record, like he's going to be done for 3 years. Like, that's not how it works anymore. So there's always another opportunity. There's always going to be another song. I like to go into it with that abundance mindset rather than scarcity mindset of like, what if I give away all my ideas and I won't have any good ones and they don't turn out like I want? Like, that's just scarcity, and it's just not true. Like, if we really believe we're song chasers and that we're chasing these gifts that come down from God, from heaven, who is the ultimate creator, then there's always more. There's always going to be more. So don't put so much pressure on yourself. A couple more here. Number 12, don't be a shooter, downer, non-contributor. This is a very technical term I just created.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Don't be the person. What I mean by this is it's really simple. Don't be the person that just shoots down ideas without like giving a contribution. There are people who I've written with in the past that are very good at that. Like, they're great at saying what they don't like, but they can't say anything of what, like, here's what I would like to see, or here's an idea. That's a big one. And in the beginning, it's hard to get stuck in this. I've been this person. I was this person a lot in the beginning. And I started to become self-aware enough of like, how many times am I shooting something down versus like contributing something. And so just pay attention. That's not anything that you can like magically snap your fingers, but just over the next several co-writes that you do, just pay attention. And Killer Karen, negative Nancy, exactly. I don't think we have any Nancys.
Any Karens or Nancys.
No, not currently, no.
No.
So yeah, don't be a shooter down or non-contributor. Last two, this is kind of crazy, but true, and it has happened in my studio before. Don't talk about the singer when they are in the booth because you never know when the talkback mic is on.
Nice.
I've been in sessions where and on Zoom, this is true on Zoom too, because you never know when you're unmuted or
True,
muted.
yeah.
Like probably even more important on Zoom because people think they're muted. And they're like,
And
oh
they're
crap.
not. Yeah.
Like, what did they say? So I was in a session with an artist. This was about 6 months ago, and it was me and three other co-writers. Again, I'm not going to name names, but the artist went in the booth to cut the demo. I had forgot to hit the talkback off button in here, and normally I just always leave it off, just in case there's anything that gets said in the room. Most people aren't gonna just do this and say stuff about, but it's always something I try to do just in case. And the other writer, like it was a tough write. It was a hard, like it felt like work, felt like kind of pulling teeth to get to a finished song. And when the singer went in there, like one of the other writers was on the couch, he was just like, oh man, that was a piece of work. And I looked down as soon as he said that. I saw the green light was on. I was like, oh crap. I really hope to God his headphones were not on yet. I think they were, but he didn't say anything. They didn't say anything. So could have potentially been a pretty bad situation. But just be aware. Is the mute button on? Is the talkback mic button on? This is real world stuff. You don't want to mess up a
Could
relationship.
burn a bridge, yeah.
You could very easily burn a bridge for sure. Exactly. Okay, last thing. This is one that I actually experienced last week. If you're the artist in the right, don't ever say, who are we pitching this to? That is, it may not seem so counterintuitive, or it may seem counterintuitive, but like if you're the artist in the room, the writers are there to write with you for your project. Ultimately, if at some point along the lines there's a conversation had and the artist feels like this isn't something that I would say or that I would do, but I really like this song, let's pitch it. That's another thing. But I told this to my publisher who set up this right, and he got so pissed, and he called that artist like, what are you doing? Like, this is not an unestablished artist either. This is somebody that kind of should know not to do this.
Mhm.
Once again, this doesn't matter if you're not in the room writing with an artist, but this is if you are the artist, you're in the room because the other writers want to write for your project. Like we talk about that. Like if you're a writer, you want to be writing with artists who are working on a project to release. So yeah, that was kind of it was a little bit funny in the moment, and we kind of, as the other co-writers, looked at each other and just laughed a little bit. And we're like, oh yeah, that's a good question. But at the same time, it kind of, well, it really rubbed my publisher the wrong way, and it's going to rub a lot of writers the wrong way, and because it's tough. A lot of artists sort of like get a little bit resentful to this fact of like, well, why can't I write for other people? Well, you've decided to be the artist. Like that's really what you are in that season. You need to have something that pops off, something that works big time. You might look at guys like Ryan Tedder and think, well, he does both, but he's the anomaly. He's not the norm. Like he had One Republic stuff blow up, long before he had hits with other people. So, and that's something that takes a lot of time to get to. But if you're wearing the artist hat, just know that 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, the people are there to write with you for your project. Doesn't mean you can't pitch it if you are all unanimously like, this would be better served by X, Y, and Z, but it's not ever something you should say on like a day one walking into a write. Just had to get that one in there because it just happened to me recently, and had to just get that out. So yeah, so that is my not so comprehensive, but as comprehensive as I can make it, list of what not to do in a co-write. Do we have any questions? Y'all can just type them down in the chat, or you can hit that hand raise button.
Just trying to make sure.
Yeah, Debbie says, thanks for being so transparent. Such about you. Yeah, awesome. That's what we're here for. We're not here to just, blow smoke. I mean, we want to help you guys figure this thing out. Joyce, I've been in all of these kind of rooms at some point. Everything above has happened. So glad I got on here to share Seth's mouth. I'm not a perfect I'm not a perfect co-writer either. So Chelsea says sometimes at the indie level there are two artists in the room, and it's definitely helpful right off the bat to establish who we're writing for. That's a great way to put it. If there are two artists, yeah, is this a duet? Is this a collab thing? Are we writing one way or another? That's a great point. That's as simple as just having the conversation. Bill says it's been eye-opening. Want to be a better co-writer and producer. I'm going to make it a point to work on all these. Awesome. Debbie, curious on your comment about Tommy Prophet. What do you think would make you feel comfortable saying what he did? I'm not sure I actually understand that question. What do you think would make me feel? Maybe rephrase that for me. Hillbilly Tony says, "What if they think you're the artist but you're not?" Well, you should. I mean, that on the front end, you say, "Hey, I'm yeah, exactly." That's like if you're writing with somebody who you've never met before, and you have zero context, at least have a conversation at first of like, okay, what are we working towards? And at that point, that can solve a lot of issues. Megan, this is a great question. How do you know if you're an artist or a writer? That is a great question. Very great
I'm
question.
still figuring that one out.
Maybe you can share your experience with that.
Oh my gosh.
Because you very much do the artist thing, but
See, that's it's just interesting that you say that, because I'm like, I feel like
you don't do it as much as like a Jordana.
right. Well, and I think it's something I feel like is probably an internal battle that you have to like kind of figure out in yourself too, because there's so much more that comes with being an artist than solely a writer. And obviously there's a lot of artists who are the both, right? You're an artist and you're a writer, and that's great. There's some artists that are only artists and don't want to do the writing thing and only get cuts and whatever. But then there's also people like Emily Wise bands and people like that are probably more solely writers, but also release things that they feel, fit their brand or whatever, or like, something I feel passionate about and I just want to release it because I can. But you wouldn't go as far to be like they're doing the whole artist thing, because they're not. So I think it's really interesting. I think you have to probably take a look at all the things that an artist has to do, right? Because it comes with touring, it comes with being your own manager, being your own
social media
influencer person,
influencer.
content person, all of the things. You have to figure out if you're willing to do that, because it's a lot of people. Like big artists you see obviously have individual, like they have teams that build all that, but when you're just starting out, it's kind of it's you.
Yeah.
And maybe your friend who wants to help out with something, and so, but also too, I think even just like on the song level, because that's like a energy level, it's a bandwidth thing, like obviously takes up a lot of time, to be an artist, but also like, have you kind of and not that you have to have like a very defined sound, but like, most artists kind of have a thing, have a sound, have a genre, have something that they're kind of in this lane or whatever. Like, do you have that? Do you have something that you just love singing? Is your voice a particular style? Stuff like that. And then also, it's Cooper kind of talked about it yesterday. He's like, I have these 4 buckets of songs that I release, and like, do you have those buckets of songs that you feel really passionate about? Is it songs about faith? Is it breakup songs? Is it, mental health songs? Whatever that looks like. Do you have things that you feel like I'm really passionate about these topics or these kinds of songs, and I feel like I'm the one that is supposed to share them, right? Versus I love writing them, but I don't feel like I have to be the one that puts them out in the world. I think, yeah.
And sometimes there's no easy answer other than getting yourself into the pool, which is really what I did, what so many writers do. They move to town as artists and then figure out, wow, there's people who are way better singers than I am. There are people who are way better on camera, doing the social media and content. There are people who enjoy that more than I do. There are people who, well, maybe not even enjoy it. There are people who are willing to do it more than I do. There are people who love playing live shows and touring. So sometimes you don't fully know on the front end. What I would say is like prerequisites, obviously, like to be, in my opinion, to be a really successful artist, you've got to have a unique, great voice. Like that's bar none. Tommy Profits, or if you're a DJ, producer side, like you have to be a knock it out of the park branded type of producer. He doesn't sing on his records, but he has a thing. He has a sound that he does with his production. So you have to have some kind of a brand. This is my problem as a writer and why I would have a hard time. Like if I was to try to pick a direction of an artist project, I have so many things that I love to do that to me, it just, I don't have a clear defined, like I love doing country rights, but I also love getting right with Colton Dixon sometimes. And I love getting to do sync. So that's where like being a straight up songwriter sometimes gives you a little more freedom for that. Because you can write with all different types of things, but being an artist can also be rewarding as well because you can control your own destiny, so to speak, a lot more than as a songwriter. We're writing, 100 songs hoping that 5 or 10 or 20 of them go do something. If you're an artist, you literally can just release the songs you want to release. You can release the songs that you like and connect with. So you can it's like you have the chance to be the curator more so than just the songwriter does.
Yeah. And you even just touched on it in one of your points in your slides about like when you're in the room, if you like the whole question of like who are we pitching this to, like it's you, if you're the artist, like odds are in most every room it's going to be you that they're writing for. So if you have passions to write for other artists, odds are, maybe you're more of a songwriter. So
yeah, and if you're in an artist season, you may have to put that to the side.
Totally.
Emily, you brought up is a really good point. She is consciously in a season right now of trying to sort of unbrand herself as an artist. That's not to say she doesn't ever release stuff, because she has released a couple things in the past year, but it's really more so just stuff that's like uber personal to her. She's not going out and doing all the content, social media work to promote it. But sometimes it's going down the path really far, which she had a record deal on Atlantic. I had a record deal with Word for 4 years, with Centricity for 3 years, with Word for a year. Sometimes you have to get into the actual seat and do it to figure out it's not what you're meant to do. There's a lot of stuff in life that's like that, right? We just have to try it to realize, hey, like Rick Rubin, I just listened to an interview from him. He always says he's not a musician. He can play guitar, like he knows how to play guitar, he can play basic piano. But he says he's not a musician because when you get in the room with people like Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of the greatest bands in the world, he's like, oh, okay, that's a real musician. And so that's how I felt as like an artist. Like when I get in the room with Emily, or Emily's a bad example because she doesn't want to be an artist, but like when I get in the room with Jordan Davis, like, and he just starts singing, and it's like, okay, that guy is meant to be an artist. Like whatever he sings sounds compelling. He could almost sing the phone book and it just sounds believable. So yeah, that's a whole, man, we probably could do a whole
thing
training just on that question alone. That's a great question. And the good news is you don't have to have the answer all in one time. You'll know over time. But it will take time to come to an answer, and each person's going to come to that answer differently.
Something to be reflective on.
Exactly. Be self-aware.
Yeah.
So great questions today. Awesome training.
All right, guys. We will see you guys very soon. Have a great rest of y'all's day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Made It in Music podcast. And be sure to check out our other episodes where we unpack hundreds of hot topics with some of the top music industry pros, both here in Nashville and all over the world. Subscribe to make sure that you automatically get future episodes, and leave us a review if you loved it. It would really help us out. Or send an email to support@fullcirclemusic.com if you have ideas for how we can improve the show. If you would like to become a Song Chasers member and attend our training sessions live, head over to joinsongchasers.com to learn more. You also get additional exclusive training from music industry professionals. You get our royalty-free custom tracks from Seth, Mosley. You get song reviews from me and my team, and you get access to a custom social media network we created exclusively for songwriters and musicians. There's nothing else like it on the internet. Head to joinsongchasers.com to learn how to join, and check out madeitinmusic.com for more content and episodes from this podcast. See you in the next episode.